One. Are we live?
We are live. Yes, we are live now.
We are live. Live. No.
No.
Go away. Oh, I even got a notification. I even got the notification on YouTube. Watch live now. Go away. Episode 4, apparently.
Oh, I wonder if I'm gonna. Yep. we're the only. Well, you, me, and my girlfriend are the only subscribers to the podcast.
Yep. Anyway, so man, this week has been like full of shit. I just want to start.
Yeah.
Not to mention to date this episode, the election happened, and well, fuck what I'm saying. Like the debates happened.
Yeah, I was about to say, what the? Are you from the future?
Yeah. A bit from the future here, yeah. And that's just like a big, like, it's not necessarily something we care about as much, but you know, when something that big happens, it just kind of frames everything, or at least becomes like a background for everything. Like, you know, like how you have all the historical drama in like a fucking Dumas novel. So yeah. That is our background, and everything we have happening that's kind of like bumming us out is like just like bumming us out even more because of this shit. So, but the good news is I got the new mic, so now we're both not sounding like shit. So that's exciting. That's very exciting. We can now talk like actual people, and well, as much as we can, if you know what I mean with my horrible cock in my mouth accent. But gotta start somewhere, right? Anyway, so tell me, Ben, what's up?
Not much. I got an email today from UBC that was like, traveling soon, you need to know these important changes to Canada's entry rules, and I freaked out for a sec.
I guess that does apply to you in a way.
But turns out that since I'm a U.S. citizen, I don't need to change anything. So that's cool. And then one of the times when it's international students, it's more about the people who actually like leave like in the more serious fashion. Yeah, like they're going to like China or Germany or something.
Or India.
Yes. Oh yeah, there are a lot of Indian students actually.
Really? Well done.
Well, it's because historically, Canada was part of the Commonwealth and India was part of the British Empire. And Canada is still part of the Commonwealth, but obviously, India is not part of the British Empire since there no longer is a British Empire. So,
yeah.
But like the Commonwealth is the UK, Canada, Jamaica, and
on that note.
Yep. Anyway, what else happened? I had like a crazy dream because I napped hard because I have been making bad decisions and staying up late on nights when I also need to wake up early to catch the bus for school. And in this dream, there was a guy who looked like Santa Claus, and like he was holding some sort of seminar at the school where I am, because he was some sort of musician, and I went out on a rainy day to his thing, and he was holding a seminar outside, of course, and it was this album called something like Santa Claus on the Beach, and then
nice, like.
He pops in. Well, first off, he popped a record into a tape player, nice. So that tells you what we're in for. And then it starts playing, and he's like, he starts like singing in this swanky lounge music, jazz stuff, while like weird chants music shit's going on in the background, and then it cuts, and I'm walking home, and because it's raining a bunch, there's like a muddy patch on one of the lawns on my way, and everyone's being slow on the sidewalk, so I cut through the lawn and I start slipping, but then I decide I don't want to fall, so what happens is I surf on the mud in just my shoes for like a solid 10 seconds, That's it.
That's a start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was cool. And
Yeah,
then
we
I
both
don't
had,
remember the
like, a
rest.
couple crazy dreams. We both had a couple crazy dreams. You know, I've heard this thing, and I've heard that like dreams are something that are very inspiring or interesting to you as an individual, but unfortunately, they're very boring to people that are not you. And no matter how much it affected you and how much you think it's funny or interesting or entertaining, it will not come out that way to an outside observer because it will just kind of either sound like something absurd or just boring because like they don't have the experience part of it, you know.
Yeah, or the emotional.
And, yeah,
the
emotional
emotions that
investment.
just don't make sense because you're not a
because
normal
that's-
person at that point in time.
Yeah, in the dreams you don't behave like a normal person. You kind of act like in a weird way. It's like the dreamlike logic of it all is what's it about. But I ask you this. Do you think dreams can be interesting if you make them interesting by using that as like a start for some kind of project, like if you make them out to be something else? Because if you just tell people the story, it's not going to be interesting. But I think it can be more interesting if you put it into. Well, we already know that a lot of artists use dreams as like as a start. Like you have the surrealist artists that all do that kind of stuff. But I think the dream logic can be like told if you amplify it with something.
Yeah.
I think David Lynch is a great example of that.
Yeah, it would have to be something that's definitely absurdist, like Mr. Lynch's work, because
Mr. Lynch.
if you try and make it more coherent, like you'll have to kind of retrofit it and make it work because dream logic is not story logic, you know.
See, this brings me to this question. Have you ever thought about what makes dream logic? Because I like the dream absurd surreal kind of sense. So I like the Lynch movies, but I'm kind of new to it. At least like I never tried to work in that kind of thing. A lot of people told me that my work is surreal because like I have a couple of abstract elements to it, but I never felt like they're actually surreal. I felt more like like they're abstract, or I'm just like painting whatever I want to paint. But they just like look at it and they think of like surreal art, like Dali or something, and they just feel like shapes are close. So that's what they say. But to me, it's not an actual dream logic kind of thing. I don't feel like it's surreal because of that. What do you think makes like surrealism to be surrealism? Like what makes the dream logic?
I would say that a big part of it is whatever happens doesn't necessarily have to be tied to context. Does that make sense?
Well, maybe. I think so. Like when I think about
in dream logic, like let's say someone punches you or something. That's Anyway, let's say they punch you. In dream logic, your reaction could then be to all of a sudden appear in Mexico or something, you know?
Like the reaction and what causes anything to happen does not have like regular effect the normal way you would think things happen. But something else I thought about, I really, for some reason, I kept thinking about what Yahtzee said in his review of Five Nights at Freddy's a while ago, and he talked about how it's very successful. Like, he didn't really like it, but he said that it's very close to actual nightmare logic because it's just something that's happening to you, and you can't do anything about it. There's like no way for you to do anything. You just have to persist and survive. And the way they made it so that you have like barely anything to protect yourself, like just bare minimum and nothing proactive. You're like locked into this chair. You can't leave the office for some reason. Like a normal person would be able to walk outside, right? But in the game world, that's not what happens. It forces you into this like nightmare scenario where you're forced to be inside. So, and he did say that that's a very nightmare feeling. For some reason, like consciously or not, that's how it was like designed. But that's like what about that? And I agree, but I'm not sure what about it makes it so dreamlike, and I'm trying to figure it out. Do you have any ideas?
Mm-hmm. And I'm having trouble because I've never thought of. Well, for one thing, I never followed the early Five Nights at Freddy's games in the first place, but I've also just never thought of them in that context. And you know how great I am at thinking on the spot. But
Well, it's something to come back to then, I guess.
yeah.
Because dreamlike logic is really interesting to me, but unfortunately, it's like hard to feel because I think you need to feel it more than you have to like logically understand it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because whenever I watch like Lynch's films, I feel like he knows what he's doing, but intuitively, like I feel like he just gets it. So whenever he makes a choice, it's something that he feels like, of course, it's going to be this because anything else is not gonna give this feeling. See, so I want to ask you as a musician, have you ever heard anything that's, you know, close to surreal or dreamlike in music, and what do you think makes it so? If you ever like made some music that you wanted to be surreal, like if you were commissioned to write like a soundtrack for like a game, and you have to write like a nightmare sequence or something.
I have, but the thing is, they all seem to have the same kind of flavor. Just like layering of like disparate genres, without regards to like conventional timing and stuff like that. But they all seem to be that kind of same flavor of like bi or polytonality, layered rhythms that don't match up, different genres popping in at times that feel weird and are out of context. They all seem to all do that, you know?
So like basically what you were saying, like the context doesn't make sense, but
Yeah.
in like sense of like musical language.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard anything that academic musicians refer to as like musical surrealism? Like when surrealism in art was happening, like they did attribute some pieces to surrealism, but I don't know if a lot of like composers agreed.
I mean, I haven't, but you know, I also.
The one piece I keep remembering from my adventure into 20th century music that I can't think of it. I think it was a French composer, but I'm not sure which. It was kind of what you said, but like in a more academic context. But that's like what they were doing anyway, you know, like just mixing stuff and making it all weird, basically. So I don't know, like I don't know if it exactly like transfers the feeling of a dream.
Well, I mean,
The reason why we're talking about this, I think, is because
surrealist
everything is so terrible. Everything is so terrible that I think we are just feeling like we're in a dream that we can't wake up from.
Well, surrealist music does have a Wikipedia entry, so it is a thing. I wonder why we never, because I don't think we never talked about it in music history class, or at least if we did, it was during one of the times where I
No,
didn't pay
we
attention.
didn't. Yeah, we didn't because I don't remember it either, and we didn't do it. I was completely on my own, like, uh, time I researched this because I remember thinking like, why if like there is such a thing as impressionism in music, why isn't there such a thing as surrealism in music then too? And there is, as it turns out. But I think there is such a thing when some people like agree, like when enough academic like powers agree on something, then it becomes a legit thing. But I think in some cases, not enough people agree for it to be like taught as a big point of view.
I think another problem is just all these like period labels and styles and stuff. For the most part, they're put onto the works after the fact. A lot of times after the creators are dead.
Yeah.
So
plus
if you
a lot of
if you
cases,
told Debussy his stuff was
that.
surreal or was impressionistic, he probably would not agree with that.
Oh, he didn't actually.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact that a lot of artists did not agree because they used to apparently they used to use that term like impressionism as an insult, which doesn't sound like an insult to you and me now, right? But basically, like people reclaimed it. But to them, like they didn't agree with it because it was sort of like an insult, almost description of what they were doing. But you know, they thought of it differently. They didn't think of it as like this like muddy music that doesn't make much sense. You know. But you know, that's whatever. Whatevs. Although it's very interesting to see how modern people want to try and do that. Like I had a friend whose composition teacher was described as neo-impressionism kind of guy, and that was very interesting.
That's part of the reason why I got disenchanted with academia. Was it's kind of like those shithead metal forum guys where everything just gets categorized to the point of ridiculousness.
Yeah, tell me about how you are now, like, because when you started you were kind of doing academic stuff, just that's because like how people like you end up in this position, because that's just that's how everyone starts. Everyone who's serious about music, you go to like a music school, you go through this academic life, and most of the time if you don't do a lot you will end up like teaching or something, unless you just quit if you hate it or something. You end up like having like a degree, you teach, and then you like hang yourself or something because you don't know what you're doing with your life. If you want to do anything else, unfortunately at some point you'll have to wake up.
Wake up,
to use the term. Yeah, wake up, sheeple, and understand that you have to do some things and make some decisions about how you gotta quit that stuff. But tell me this. I never asked you this. What do you remember? Like a point where you were like, "Oh, this is not interesting to me at all." Did that ever happen?
Well, the really major thing was what was that? What just happened? I got a weird notification. Okay. I guess we're fine. It disappeared before I could read it, but it was definitely XSplit related. Anyway, what happened was mostly the people. Like, I went through. I was never ever one of those goddamn jackasses who thinks true music stopped like at Bach or stopped at Mozart or whatever. Like, I was always interested in other stuff, but there were when I was growing to if not necessarily like a lot of different types of music, I could at least understand and appreciate them. Like, there were so many other people that were just digging in their heels and like didn't even want to try. And the thing that really like just kind of killed it for me, along with the realization that like symphonic playing life was totally not going to be for me, because if I spent my life playing the goddamn Nutcracker 15 times a year minimum during December every year, I was going to kill myself. But remember when we did Rite of Spring at UNLV, which is now a work that is over 100 years old? There were so many students saying that was like way too weird and groundbreaking for them to get into. And it's like,
Rite of Spring.
Yeah, it's like if this work, which is so old by now, and really isn't anything new anymore. It's just an ostinato and like biome polytonality and like layers. Like if that is what's gonna, if that's what's gonna make it so that anything that isn't completely tonal is like, it's just too much for you, like it's all just gonna stagnate. Like if you don't ever perform anything new, if you only perform the established repertoire of what sounds like really, really tonal and really nice, maybe a little sad sometimes, but mostly it's meant to be pretty, like everything's just gonna die.
It's I remember hearing those comments too, but do you think a lot of it is because honestly it's just like students who don't want to do hard shit?
Maybe.
Because you're talking like a person who's in this world, who's gonna stay in this world, the world being the music world, thinking about what's gonna happen and what will happen, what has to happen, and you just you're in it. But I feel like a lot of these students are not. They're just there to do assignments, and to them, I understand that like when they see that shit, like, oh come on, this is too difficult, this is hard to like get into. I just want to play Beethoven because that's like I'm used to playing Beethoven.
Well, even Beethoven has a lot of complexity. Like these are the kids who just want to play, like literally just want to play all the Mozart symphonies, same structure every time, super tonal.
Yeah, maybe because it's easy.
And even the Mozart symphonies have stuff that's hard, but that was the other thing that kind of made me like yearn for something more. Is when I was in chamber orchestra, we played so many Mozart symphonies, and I was like, there are 42 of these, and it's getting to the point where I'm having trouble telling the difference between most of them now. Like, and I get it. He was the pop artist of his time. He was the absolute rock star. There wasn't recorded music, so he just popped these things out, made a bunch of money, and they were really well written with really great architecture. But in this day and age where we do have recordings and we have a lot more availability to perform to the general public, like it gets really monotonous.
Yeah, definitely. I see. My problem with academia wasn't like the people. My problem was always like the attitudes and the way the life is meant to be. Because I'm in no way interested. Like I'm just like staying in like some office and pretending to do important stuff that people care about, and then teaching people about how great I am, rather than like doing something. And I understand like that you do get to do all the cool shit, and you're meant to do all the cool shit, but everything apart from doing the cool shit is so like not interesting to me. Like I don't care about people. I don't care about them like learning shit from me. Most of them probably don't care about it either. I just want them all to die. But like with art it's slightly different, but it's still the same, especially like with a lot of modern contemporary art, like universities and colleges. There's so much bullshit. There's a lot of
that was the other thing.
Yeah, bullshit is just everywhere, man.
Well, part of what bothered me was I did have that want to write music, but I didn't want to tell anybody because I knew they would be like, "Oh, so are you taking composition lessons or blah blah blah?" And like, no, I just want to do my own thing. Like, I don't want to get a degree in this.
Yeah,
Not
everything
to
is like
disparage getting a degree. If that's what works for you, go for it. But don't act like that's the only way you can write music.
Yeah, that's the problem I had, even, and a lot of other people, I imagine. When they, like, get a piece of paper, they suddenly feel superior.
Mm-hmm.
The piece of paper doesn't mean shit, man. If you write music and nobody likes it, apart from you and your mom, then I'm sorry, man. Like, it's not cool. I understand that there is, like, some shit that's the public never gonna like, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then you will probably be interesting to, like, niche audience, to, like, aficionados, to people who are care about, like, musical stuff and that kind of sense, like, where that's pushing boundaries, maybe the academia.
Mm-hmm.
But if they don't care, because, let's face it, to them you're not interesting enough, then you're wasting your time. You're not doing anything.
Well, and then, no offense to the composition department, anyone who basically wasn't Brian Coster's, like, when they did their, when they brought in their pieces for, like, the orchestra and wind orchestra to read so they could record them and add them to their portfolio, for the most part it was either stuff that was so pedestrian and tonal that it was just boring, like Whitaker, or it was that art school problem where they got so into, like, the technique and the modern weird stuff and forming their own individuality that they did all this weird complex shit just for the sake of it without trying to make actual music.
Without making any sense of it, yeah. See, that was my problem. That definitely was my problem. I thought I was doing it, but then at some point I realized that that's a lot of it is misguided. Like, especially the technique. But this is the thing I want to talk about now. You know what I've been noticing recently? Like, I'm doing Inktober now. Inktober, for those of you that don't know, most of you probably know, is the thing when you take the month of October and devote some time, depending on how much do you want to, like, devote to it, to using ink, pencils, and everything traditional. It's a great flash mob, basically, that started with, like, digital artists feeling like they're doing a little bit too much of digital and not enough, like, quote-unquote, real art. So it's just like an excuse, basically, for everyone to do a little bit. I took it a little bit too far, honestly. I'm regretting it, but I've been discovering something about myself, and what I'm discovering about myself is this is something interesting, but comparing myself to me years ago when I was doing composition, the same problem arises when I end up being too into the technique. Like, I feel like a lot of artists start with, like, an idea and want to pursue it, and everything else is just a tool to do that. And I sometimes, like, what is this drawing? I don't care, I just want to render it out. Like, see, and then I stop myself and be like, well, no, that's not good, but that's just how, like, where my heart is, I guess. At least at the moment. Like, I'm trying to get it interesting and make it, like, at least look cool, but a lot of the time I'm just kind of rendering because maybe it's my comfort zone. Maybe this is something, like, I know I can grasp, and that's why I do it, because everything else is hard. But I end up, like, I feel like you're more of an ideas guy than I am. Like, I am more of a sit down and, like, grind the technique a bit, because, you know, because that's what I end up doing all the time.
I am fine with being an ideas guy as long as with the caveat that I'm an ideas guy who actually does something, you know?
Well, yeah, like, I don't mean, like, that kind of ideas guy, but I mean, like, a person who starts with, like, ideas and then, like, tries to make them happen. Because most of the time, what I'm doing, instead of actually trying to do something, I end up just, like, okay, let's draw something. What? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's draw something that I can just, like, go into and render,
Mm-hmm.
because that'll make it like look finished. It'll make it look nicer, and that's where I am. And it's not like I used to have these great ideas that I care about, and I just got like oppressed with years of art or something, and now I just do that. But it's not that. It's just like I always loved this. I always loved the rendering. I always care about making things look nice. But I never get like to the point where I'm like I really want to tell this story. I really want to show you this image. I really want to do this or that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I'm concerned with. Like, did you ever have anything like that?
Where I had trouble finding the idea?
Yeah, when you have like desire to do something and like technique to do it, but really the issue is that you have nothing to say.
Honestly, that happened to me a lot more in my poetry days. Not that I'm completely sworn off of writing poetry, but you probably noticed I don't do it really basically anymore at all. Once in a while, but with writing, I can just kind of think about something or if I'm really having trouble, I can find a prompt. And then, like, after a little bit of warm-up time, like, I'll just get going. But I got stuck with poetry a lot, especially when after that the poetry class I took, when the dude was like, you seem to be the most serious guy in the class about this, and you have a really solid foundation, but I think you really need to start pushing yourself to not use cliches anymore for your own benefit.
What would be the poetry cliches?
Oh, it'd mostly be it's the same as in any other writing thing. A lot of it was like I was using super common phrases, or another one I liked to do a lot that he helped me realize was dumb, was when I was wanting to emphasize something, I would put like one word on each line, and he was like, I get what you're going for, because I used to try and do the same thing. The problem is, when you do this, it never ends up as powerful as you might think it does. And like, he was totally right, because it, like, that line break doesn't carry as much power as people like to think it does. So you need to find another way to add emphasis. And also, like, splitting the whole, like, line or sentence into, like, a bunch of different line breaks it's like a super rookie thing, you know? Yeah, but I don't, at least not with writing, I don't have problems that much. Now with music, when I'm writing music at least, I kind of need to have sort of an idea of what I want to do. A lot of the times, obviously, it ends up way different, because nothing ever ends up the way you imagine it in your head. But for the most, that's part of why I only have, you know, so many compositions, but I have a hell of a lot more short stories. It's I know it's not recommended, but I do kind of have to have at least a glimpse of a muse for writing music. Although, as I say that, when I wrote Leaves and Blood, I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do, and that thing ended up pretty great, so maybe I just need to get over it.
Maybe sometimes that's the case. In my case, I used to think that it's not really my place to think of what I want to say, especially if you're like an illustrator. What you really want to say usually doesn't matter. How you say it is what it's all about. And I can get behind that. But recently now, like, I don't want to say this because I've heard somewhere, and I agree with this, that no one is a fine artist until you called that by something else. Basically, it's not a title you just assign to yourself. But I like a fine art thinking. A lot of the times, is sort of like what kind of thing you want to present to a person. Like, rather than, like, yeah, it's all about the aesthetic, right? It is about the aesthetic you bring to the world and how you build it. And sometimes your whole body of work is a piece of its own because it transforms the world and everything around you to something else. But I've been trying to ask myself, so, like, I'm working with the visual medium, right? Yeah. So what I should be asking is not what's the story I want to tell, and maybe sometimes not even how I want to tell it, but more like what visual information I want to convey. Because visual information is not like something else. Sometimes you can, like, show a picture to a person that's not even necessarily well made, but something about it will make them think of something or, like, just experience something. And I think that's an important part of it, because, like, you can see abstract art that's just like a bunch of lines, right? But it's very evocative because just the imagery of what it is strong enough for you to kind of feel something about it. And I'm, like, a visual person, so I can definitely, like, think about what this image does for me. Sometimes you, like, see, like, a page in a comic book and it's just like, I don't even care about the art so much as how I feel about this whole image, you know? And sometimes you read a comic book and it's just, like, just there, and it's just there to, like, serve a purpose. Like, sometimes you can have a comic book that's, like, it's not necessarily, like, anything special, but the art is really nice. The art itself is really nice. It's just, like, as a comic book, it doesn't, like, necessarily do anything. Like, it's well drawn. It's well drawn, but it's not like they're trying to, like, make you feel something with the imagery. It's just there to do the narrative justice, and that's it. So that's how I feel sometimes, and I'm thinking if I should just, like, take a bunch of drugs and meditate on what imagery I want to convey, you know? Because I don't know, like, when you were a kid, did you ever have experience when you see something or hear something and it really moves you? Yeah. Like, and I talk about, like, this, and I mean more like further down the line as a kid, like, because we all have the moment when we're, like, 12 and we listen to Linkin Park and we're like, oh my god, so you know? Deep. Yeah. But yeah, or like Slipknot and you're like, oh, people equal shit. And yeah, and or whatever, you know, like, or if you're like a goth guy and you listen to, like, Anna Varney and the Assemble of Shadows, like, you know, Super Eternus, and you're like, everything's bad. My friend has been buried. Like, you know, like, and not to say those aren't, like, good, and, you know, sometimes Super Eternus is fun to listen to because it's wacky. It's kind of wacky, like, in a weird way, but when you're, like, a little kid, you know, like a little kid, like under 7, I would say, like, like something always happens that makes you feel something. Like, you'll see some kind of aesthetic, some kind of imagery, something that will really make you feel a certain way, and you'll never forget it. Or you might forget it, but subconsciously it will still always be there. Like, do you have anything like that?
Not really. Maybe. I guess my issue is I don't really have trouble trying to create the moods and textures that I'm looking for.
Well, I mean, that's good, but, like, you know what kind of moods and textures you're trying to go for. In my case, I'm like, what am I really trying to say, you know? Like, sometimes I'm like, for example, there's a painting, and it's, like, 2 ladies playing badminton and in, like, an open field, and there's a bunch of green around, and there's a house. And that's it. It's a very, like, kind of... Excuse me. There it is. Famous Ben sneezing. So it's like a very pedestrian painting, but the way it's done and the way the composition is, when I saw it as a kid, I was very moved. Something about it like made me feel a certain way. It made me feel very calm, but very feeling like a part of something big. So sometimes I like open that image and I look at it and try to analyze it, but not like in an academic way, but like what really about this image makes me feel this way. So this is what I want to say. Maybe this is how, like, what I want to like show to someone. Like, how would I try to convey the same emotion, and if I even want to, you know. I never felt like that with music, by the way. Like when I was a kid, it was always imagery.
Okay. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Apart from the like teenage time when you like listen to metal for the first time, like Iron Maiden, and you're like, oh my god,
yeah,
this is so cool.
Well, being as helpful as I always am, I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, that's usually the case. I mean, see, well, now that we're done talking about like the ideas and what you're trying to say, like this is like an issue that keeps popping up, and you like go back to it all the time. So like we covered it once now, and just want to bring it up. Now that we know that you don't know what you're doing, you just feel like doing it, and I'm trying to understand what I want to say, and just feel anxious all the time because of it. Like we can move on to something else.
Oh man! But I just realized another thing that made me like kind of turn away from academia.
Oh, that's good.
It was what was it? It was like we both knew I wanted to also write. Obviously, I play the oboe, and I'm damn fucking good at it. Thank you very much. And I really like folk music, and I wanted to write my own music. Like, I do all this. I do all this stuff that is a lot more related than people think. But whenever I would talk to someone in the academic circle, except for like Dr. Kaplan and Beth, who have both been pretty supportive, especially Beth. Beth is one of the most supportive teachers I've ever had. But, like, especially my colleagues and then some professors, like, they would always be like, well, you gotta choose one. And, like, we both know by now my infamous don't tell me what to do streak. So...
Oh, yeah. This is, like, legendary.
Yeah, so then... By then, I think I just felt this, like, deep fighting inside of me, like, fuck you! Don't tell me what to do! I'll show you! I'll do all this shit! So, here I am now.
Yeah, well, see, like, we both kind of agree with what they were saying, because I think what they were saying is what we say to aspiring people who just come into this. And be like, how do I do this? And you're like, well, this is very easy. You just do it. Like,
yeah.
That's and when like, well, I can't do it because I have children, work, studying.
Yeah, if you have children, work, and study, you find a way to still do it.
Or you cut that out. You cut that shit out of your life. Like that's.
Well, I mean, don't cut your children out of your life. That is a very bad thing.
No, finally we disagree on something. I say, fuck them.
But then they end up like you.
Being artists, good! Yeah, I think it's okay to start doing something like art with like an emotion. I think that's pretty common. Like a lot of people go into some art thing because they have a very strong feeling about some emotions or something. Like they're very into like the beauty of the art and they want to like transfer that, or they want to like make the world a better place genuinely, and they just make music that's good. Or like you just hate people, and you just make music that is full of hate, and or like it's funky or something, or you like something
just
and
make
you
music
make it
about what I
about
like.
aliens. Yeah, you just make music about what you like, and it's the
Cool,
same. But
funky
eventually, when you do
stuff.
it long enough. Yeah, when you do it long enough, you stop being about a thing, and you just like, well, now I have this grand tool about expressing myself, but I feel like express myself about like a very strong issue, like well enough. Now I have to think of something else to say,
Mm-hmm.
That's when experimentation starts.
Yep.
Yeah, but like my friend Chris, who passed away recently, unfortunately, he was really strong. Like you can see in his art, like it's very dynamic. It's very strong with like action and movement. And knowing him and why we ended up being friends too, it makes sense because I'm like that too, and like I feel a lot of anxiety and like fears and just like need to move. It's like all there, and you can see it perfectly in his work, and it really makes sense when I talk to him.
The notification. Dropped frames detected.
Well, we don't
that's
care about
because
that, do we?
the entire internet fucking exploded.
Oh yeah, apparently. We were like talking about it yesterday, and now we find out that there is a reason for that, which is highly unusual, I think. Usually, the internet is shit just because of shit.
Life.
It's because of life.
Ain't that just the way?
Yep.
Yeah. Over the garden wall, fans.
I don't understand that reference, but hey, at least somebody does. I just don't feel like watching cartoons, man. Not that there's anything wrong with watching cartoons. It's just like not.
Just bring
not
up.
A thing.
Just bring it up with Haley, and then. There you go.
I already did, but we're just like I don't know. Like there's a fucking problem with humans, including me and you, of not wanting to explore new things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
like
it's not gonna like go away. It's really popular and it's on all the streaming sites and everything. So
yeah,
if and when you do feel like watching it, it's gonna be there. You know.
And let's be fair. If you really want something, there's a way to do it. Here's the thing. Here's the thing I like about the modern world, and it's so much easier to be the explorer. And what I mean by that. Is that a dog?
No, I can smell what my neighbor's cooking, and it smells really good.
Well, screw them, because we both are hungry and want to eat.
No,
anyway.
I had sushi today because I was like, if I have any more of this leftover Indian food, or if I cook up this chow mein or something, I'm gonna get heartburn and I'm gonna die. So
I guess that's okay.
Yeah.
No,
I just cannot have the spicy oily stuff for a while. I mean, I've been having spicy oily acidic stuff for like a solid month now, so that might explain why I'm getting heartburn. Heartburn
is terrible, and I do sympathize because it's atrocious. It can't like do anything. It feels like but wait, I would probably prefer that over feeling like getting like my gallbladder squeezed by demons.
Here's what you do. You just gotta raise a fund and then find a shady black market surgeon to take out your gallbladder for you.
Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
I don't see how that could go wrong.
It couldn't, because it's just great. Solid plan. Champ. Anyway, where was that? Art. It's great.
Yes.
This is a moment that I need to address something. If you're listening to this and you don't know who we are or what we do, I just want to say that you can find our work in the description below.
Oh fuck, now I gotta add that.
Ha!
What
I did it.
what link do you want for your stuff? Do you want your Facebook thing?
We'll figure that out
Yeah.
later. But
We shouldn't be talking business while we're streaming.
Yeah. See, here's what I want to say about Inktober and shit like that. Sometimes you just gotta go on self-discovery, and like I was saying, exploring this in this age is so much easier. Think about this. Back like some years ago, it wasn't like even like that. Yeah, well, not really. It's just like before the internet. Remember, you brought this up like a couple days ago. You like Red and Link, and they just, like you said, they made a documentary about trying to find somebody without the internet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's basically the big thing. The internet allows you to do a lot of shit, but think about this. Sometimes you'll get inspired or be interested in something so much that you need to know more about it, but it's hard because it's from another country by people who don't even speak English. And I've had that feeling so often. Like I would see some art that's made by like some Taiwanese guy, and it's like amazing, and I need to know how he does it, or she.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know because in the description it says it has some moon speed.
I should add some music.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm
You know,
gonna add some
so-
music an hour into the podcast now. Aren't you glad?
Good. Very much. Very happy about that. So, but, you know, like, back in the days, you would have no choice but to, like, venture into distant lands, take a pilgrimage to, like, some Asia country, you know, like, and, like, find the school of thought, like, meet the people, like, get into know them, and then you can see the shit. These days, like sometimes you still have to go through some hurdles, like you can't speak like the language, but you have like the translator and just your brain to try and navigate like a site so that you can watch like some Chinese artists paint, and you will learn so much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're trying to learn something, it's so much easier these days, and you can still like have that exploration journey. Like I urge any artist who really likes something that made them like, you know, paint, try and go and find out as much as possible about it. If you like some old master or something and you like their painting, try to find out everything there is about the painting. Try to like go online. Just like you don't even have to go anywhere. If you can, that's great, but try to find like archives, maybe like doodles, maybe something, maybe find the sketchbook of an old master or something. Like learn as much as you can. It's so easy.
Yep.
Like if there's something good you like, there's more information about it out there. And plus, if your artist is like a living being, you can always find where they live, hide behind the bush behind the house. Yeah, like if you know, like you can find out where they live, like hit them on the head with a shovel, put them under your like house in like a basement or something, and make them tell you all the secrets about their craft.
And on that note, if you're doing NaNoWriMo this coming month, and by some strange happenstance you happen to be from Vancouver, Washington, and you set that as your region, just ignore everything the organizers are doing, because it's going to be a waste of your time.
I want to talk about that.
Oh
First of all, tell me what NaNoWriMo is.
It's a non-profit organization that runs an event called National Novel Writing Month, which they shorten to NaNoWriMo because that's super hip. And basically the goal is you don't get shit from it. It's kind of like Inktober in that way. Like, you're not going to win money or anything like that or get a publishing deal or something. It's just like an external motivation.
Movement.
Yeah, it's a public movement, an external motivation to get you to actually finish a novel. And their goal is by the end of November, you'll have at least... How many words was it? 50,000, I think? 50,000 words? Yeah, it has to be 50,000, because 500,000 would be fucking massive and not doable in a month. Anyway, 50,000 words by the end of November. and you'll set your own goals, and then you quote unquote win by meeting your word count, by meeting that 50,000 or more word count, and they verify that. You send them in a scrambled manuscript and everything, and then you get a little badge for the site. It's whatever. The thing is, you can set a region as yours, which I did. And like not every region has the same thing going on because they all have different organizers. But my region was Vancouver, Washington, since that's where I'm from. That's my permanent address. I wasn't going to put my Canadian thing. I don't know why, but either way, I wouldn't have gone out to their events anyway, because, you know, I'm me. But I got an email from the organizers. Where'd it go? NaNoWriMo. Here we go. And, like, it just pissed me off because it's like, it's the epitome of, like, the people who get hyper enthusiastic about a thing but never ever actually do the thing, because it has all this stuff that's like totally just geared to make you feel like you're actually doing something, like something productive, something worth your time in regards to this, but it's not. It just makes you feel like you actually did something. And like, well, that, and it also, no offense to you if you like Doctor Who, I like Doctor Who a little bit.
Yeah, we both like Doctor Who.
But, like, Doctor Who fans, Whovians, if you will, are terrible and annoying. And we just lost, like, any chance we had of getting subscribers. Anyway.
Not necessarily. I think a lot of people feel that way, too, because the Tumblr crowd can be special.
Yeah, like that totally not fake story about the person whose ringtone was set to the TARDIS sound, and somehow people, and they were like waiting at the car loop at the airport and their phone rang, and somehow people from a bajillion miles away heard their phone from their car and like surrounded their car, so they hid and then pretended to be I hate that thing. They pretended to be the new doctor, and they were a girl, so they talked about, oh, I have boobs now, that's new. And it was like the fakest shit I've ever read, aside from that one where the dude's like, I think you would be hot if you didn't have tattoos, and then the cop like beats him up and then the whole train collapses. That one's also contender for one of the most fake stories I've ever read. But
I think that's just a classic, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, setting that all aside, like, the email already set me off to like head palm or head desk status, face palm, there we go, because of the opening line. Well, the opening line is actually just a quote from Doctor Who, which would have been okay if they just left it at that. But it was like, here, I'll just read it verbatim. It's called the TARDIS. It can go anywhere in time and space, and it's mine. 11th Doctor, the Snowman. That would have been fine, because it conveys you the idea, like, you can do whatever with your novel, don't worry about it. But then they went on. Next month, your novel will be your TARDIS. Your one-sentence description will become a story that is bigger on the inside, capable of taking you places you never imagined. Now, already, your one-sentence description. What?
Yeah, I was lost when I read that too. I was just, I don't know.
As you've heard multiple... Are they talking about, like, a synopsis or an idea that you have for it? Whatever. Anyway, it goes on. As you've heard multiple times in the emails from HQ, the entire universe is available to you. Alright, that's still... I mean, starts out kind of stupid, but the idea is still fairly sound. I'm still confused by the one-sentence description that will become your story. What else? Then it goes on to say, Your novel won't always take you where you thought it would. Sometimes you'll open the doors thinking you're in Naples in 1860, but you're actually in Cardiff in 1869. Just remember that, like the TARDIS, your novel will always take you where you need to be, even if you only need to be there to keep the word count going. Again, the framework around it is still kind of cringy, but the idea is still fairly sound. Don't worry about everything so much. Your novel will take you to places where you won't expect it. Just let it. Still pretty good advice. If you're trying to find that first kernel of an idea that can become your TARDIS, I still hate that. The nano tips and strategies and blah, 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 blah will have great forums that blah, blah, blah. That just talks about the website. And then here's the bullshit. And no adventure in the TARDIS would be complete without companions. First off, no. If you want to be a writer, you don't have companions in regard to your writing. You write alone. Like, it's one of the most closed off, isolated personal crafts that you can have, I think. Which is part of why a lot of people can't handle it and get mental issues. But anyway, leaving that aside, next Tuesday we're meeting at the main library at 6 o'clock for our kickoff. You'll get a TARDIS that right? People can fill. No, hell no, I'm not going. Well, first off, that's 6 hours south of where I am right now, and I have class on Wednesday morning, so that ain't happening.
I was kind of hoping you would go, because I think you say dude, no, but that's the fears I want to hear.
Here's the other problem. NaNoWriMo does not have an age limit, or not age limit, but they don't have a minimum age requirement. Oh, and this email just mentioned Doctor Who like 8,000 times.
Well, now you definitely have to go.
Anyway.
Oh my god, it's going to be great.
That would be a circle of hell.
Yeah, I want you to suffer. And tell me all about it.
Here's the bullshit that is an activity, because you see, this whole time you're not writing. You're not actually working towards your word count with whatever idea. And it would be one thing if they like had something where you tried to pull out random ideas if you already didn't have one for some reason, and then you would try and make a novel off of that. But it's not. Here's this activity. You will get a TARDIS that people can fill with plot ideas at the Pimp My Plot table. We'll have a craft table set up where you can design your internal editor, who will be under constant threat of Dalek extermination during NaNoWriMo. Come RSVP.
Now, this email feels like it should turn off quite a lot of people.
Well, it definitely turned me off. Well, that and the other stuff I read where, like, publishers and agents fucking despise NaNoWriMo now. Because...
Oh?
For one thing, no age requirement, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, there are plenty of writers who were serious and started publishing when they were extremely young. They're rare, but they do occur. The problem is everyone gets super enthusiastic, but they're all idiots who don't know what they're doing. So, like, they think once they've met their word count, they're done. So they'll send off their manuscripts to agents and publishers and mention NaNoWriMo really enthusiastically, but they haven't let it sit for a while. They haven't edited. Like, they think once they meet that word count, they are done. So they're just sending off all this bullshit. So during, like, December and January, like, agents and publishers just get this massive slush pile of horse shit. And, like, there are tons of agents now who will say on their contact info, if your novel has to do with NaNoWriMo, make sure it's either last year's or just don't bother.
Oh.
Or they'll say, don't mention NaNoWriMo in your cover letter because I don't care.
Nice. Nice. See, here's a thought.
Ugh. And here's the other thing that bothered me. They're kicking off with a great write-off thing. We'll send TARDISes off on their adventures at midnight on November 1st. If you like to start right at midnight, surrounded by other people, our annual midnight write will be at the Portland airport. Click the paragraph, blah, 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 blah. You should not write surrounded by other people or with other people around you unless it's just you doing a little exercise to try and hone a technique or something, and you're all doing the exact same thing. But if it's something personal, like a novel, do that on your own.
I want to play the devil's advocate for this just in case. I feel like it could be possible that in whatever way you feel comfortable writing is the best way. So say you're a person who's most comfortable not at home, but like in a Starbucks. Yeah, I know that sounds very hipster.
Ugh.
In a Starbucks cafe with like a laptop and you write that way. I'm sure you like that image is like disgusting to you, but I can see how that's a real thing, okay? So if someone like enjoys that and when they go there, you see, they go there not because they enjoy the surroundings, but because for some reason that's the most comfortable place for them, and they shut everything off, but they don't feel like they're like judged at home or something. Like sometimes when I'm at home and I paint, I feel like, you know, like I'm in a place of painting, I have to paint, and it's like more serious or something. But if I'd be like in Starbucks drawing shit, I would not care as much, which would be helpful sometimes. And I'm just saying that somebody might actually be for somebody it might be beneficial to like write in a park, you know? So
yeah, I mean, already I have a knee-jerk reaction that feels more like it's just public masturbation. But setting that knee-jerk reaction aside, you're not writing just to be surrounded by other people. Like, it's not like just background noise like static and people are flitting by and stuff. It's all these writers swarming into the airport to sit in a massive lump and like... Yeah,
that's the other thing. I can't defend that because you do have to like close off.
Yeah.
Like some people say, like you need to have a closed door.
It's a different... It's something different if you need a different environment to write in. That's why there are some people that get offices or do go sit in the park, or if they're a wanker and they want to stroke their dick in public, then they'll go to a coffee shop and take their typewriter and they need to get kicked in the teeth. But
that's too much. But no, I would defend that. But if you're like going in a public like meeting to write, like think about it. If it would be perfect, the way it would be just like a bunch of people sitting in a lump and all being silent and not talking for like hours, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's what it should be.
Well, you better not be talking, like, yeah.
Yeah, but that's not what's gonna happen. You know that's not what's gonna happen. People are gonna be socializing, they're gonna fucking talk about shit, they're gonna take a break like 15 minutes later and be like, well, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go have sandwiches. Who's with me? You know? There's gonna be like a bunch of bullshit, and we both like kind of like can see it coming. And if we're wrong, then that's good. If not, then well, there you go. But I feel like the problem with this kind of shit is that you just you need a closed door, no matter what environment you're in, and that heavily implies that you don't need to have a closed door or won't. Like it's an activity that you do, and you see this like email and this thing in general makes me question who's the host of this thing, like because this sounds like a bunch of people that are not. Yeah, who is the like? I was under the impression that it was like different kind of thing.
I mean, I'll be discreet because I don't want to burn bridges. But like. It just gives me the impression. It gives me the impression that they were those people who were really enthusiastic with nothing to show for it, and they never grew out of it.
Yeah, or there are like a lot of artists who are like that too. Like you're like, the art world. I'm an artist. Everything's art. like let's like come together and drink and do art together. That's a hobby thing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's a hobby thing.
And there's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist, but I will say, if you are just a hobbyist and you don't care about making a living or getting published or any of that, or at least not getting published much, a novel is probably going to be too big of a project for you.
You know, well, I mean, here's another question. Is this maybe not for you?
It might not be. I don't know. I'm giving this one a try. This is my first time doing it.
Well,
but like,
definitely good. Yeah. Well, first thing I want to say, I do want to see you follow a very like disciplined, heavy routine that forces you to finish something, even if it's not like it's not because they told you, right? It's not because just like promise yourself and other people that you'll do it, and like whenever like what? Did you find something out? Sounds fascinating. All right, while you're processing that information, I want to finish my thought. Finish my thought.
God, I shouldn't read this whole description because someone can find it, and if on the off chance we get a fan tonight and they're an asshole, they might harass them. But I'll read selections.
Okay, well, let me like finish this thought. For two things about professional circles and professional attitude in any art. There was a thing called concept art. It still exists, but it's not what it used to be. It used to be, it's like a forum for artists, and it used to be full of professional artists working on games, movies, and like concept art and everything. And because it had such a high level of professionals in there hanging out on the early 2000s, it showed the world who came there what it takes to be a professional, because they didn't. First of all, because professionals are not rock stars, they don't have to like keep up appearances. They will tell you how it is. If people were like, "Oh, you worked on that game. I love that game. I want to be an artist too," they come in and they show their art, and suddenly, dreams are crushed, like ideas and hopes are destroyed, and you get exactly the truth. Like, no, you don't have what it takes. You can if you work a lot, but right now you're like moons away from it, you know? And the severity and the harshness is what like really is what's important, you know? Like if you need to be coddled like a baby to get shit done, I'm sorry, but that's like never gonna happen. Like yeah, some people need encouragement. There are like definitely moments when it's hard, you know? Like you do need to encourage people. But if anytime you get some harsh criticism from someone, and it's not like, you know, nasty harassment, which it's so useless anyway, why would you even be bothered by it? But if someone like legit tells you that your work is shit, and it is, objectively, if one person thinks it's shit, and they honestly think that, something about your work isn't right, mate.
Yeah.
You know, so you need to be ready for the harshness, and I'm very sad that such a place does not exist anymore on the internet that would slap young aspiring artists. Like, just like a slap. You don't need to kill them. You just like give them a slap. Like, it's like going to the military, you know, like through the draft, or doing customer service, like in young in life, so you know what life is like, you know. Like, it's all like a life lesson. You can't just like be all like, oh, it's all good art, blue writing. And then immediately, like, that puts you to place where it's at, what you gotta do. That's the first thing. And the second thing about NaNoWriMo is, like, a good thing about, like, things like that is when you tell yourself that you'll do it. And the important thing is that you will not go back on your words. This is about discipline. This is about making things happen. You said you'll do it, you will do it. Don't say it otherwise, you know? Like, if you're saying that you'll do a thing, you have to do a thing. People, like, the world does not, like, reward perfectionists. The world rewards people who get stuff done. So just fucking do it. Like, finish stuff. Like, you might not like it, but you have to finish it. Like, if you don't think it's perfect, doesn't matter. Finish it. Like, put it out. like you promise you'll do this every day, do it every day. You can't, like, it's okay to sometimes have a hiccup, right? Like things happen, like sometimes it really isn't possible, but then you have to make up for it. If you can't just quit when it gets hard, you know, like, because when you promise that you'll do something every day, it's up to you, your word, your discipline. That's a test of you if you're capable of being a professional. And you're not doing it for money, you're not doing it for fame, you're not doing it for anything, but just to prove to yourself and maybe your friend that you can do it. And if you can pull it off for like a month and walk the walk, you know, like that's what it's important. And that's why I like an idea of something like NaNoWriMo, like making people make that promise and then maybe possibly slapping them for not doing it, you know. Like if you go into NaNoWriMo, you say I'll do it, and then turns out you won't because for whatever reason, unless it's something like drastic, like your parents are died and your hand blew off and like an explosion, like, you know, like that's something like we can all understand. But if you promise you'll do it and you didn't, then they don't even need to say anything, but you will know. If you don't, you're stupid. If that happened, you know you're not ready yet for anything serious. Like, get to work, mate. And now that I had this little rant, I want you to tell me what you wanted to tell me.
Well, first off, I will say that, yes, if you promise to finish, you should get a little bit of leniency if you were, like, only 500 words short or something. Because then you're basically done. But you need to actually finish it if you do that, you know?
Yeah, I would say just take a couple days. Like it doesn't...
Or even
like,
one day.
Yeah.
500 words is really short. Like, if you're only, like, 2,000 words or less under, then you basically did it. You just need a little, like, an extra day or two, and you're fine. It's for those people who, like, got 10,000 words and then stopped. And I do like that idea of an actual critique circle, but then you get the problem of people who come in and just want to, like, be harsh for the sake of it, you know? So I would say there would need to be moderators and probably, like, a page on how to do, like, successful critique. Because this is one thing Dr. Kaplan said, because he gives everyone advice on if they start teaching. If it's possible, you need to pull out at least one good thing that they've done and give them that, because if you just dive right in with everything that's wrong, they're going to shut down. So if you give them one thing to lift them up a little bit, then you can take them down and they won't be to the point where they're, like, gone, you know? But then you run into the problem, like, what if there genuinely isn't anything that you can give them as a line of something that they did right? Like, if they're just completely off base, like, that's part of my problem, like, when I go and dispense sage advice on the writing subreddit, like, I just don't bother with a lot of people because it's just bullshit.
Well, that's the thing. When you're professional, honestly, it's not that you want to be a dick. You do want to give good advice because you feel like it helps people. Like, you remember when you started out, you know, you want to do that. But a lot of professionals don't want to offend people, you know, like, and not just because, like, oh, they'll get offended.
Well, yeah, don't walk on eggshells, because then you're not doing anyone a favor. But yeah, you should.
Well, yeah, I don't mean it like that. I meant more like they don't want to get into, like, a situation where they have to, like, take a long time to explain to a person something if they don't necessarily, like, get something. That's obviously there's, like, one more thing. Like, if you can't take the criticism and the harshness, like, that's my opinion, and it's just an opinion, then if you can't get over that, then, well, I mean, you probably should start with that and learn how to get over that. But I would
still say it's important that you need to realize a lot of the time you should at least point out the good things, because that's helpful too, to let someone know what they've done right. Because if all you tell them is negativity, then they're going to think literally everything they've done is wrong. And again,
Well,
you do run into cases where literally everything they have done is wrong. And then that's the tough area, you know.
Yeah. Well, I have like a suggestion for that. I'll tell you in a sec. But
But we went
The
off on a
thing-
tangent. Before we get any farther, oh hey, this is Postcards from America now.
speaking of tangents,
I rocked that piece. Anyway, it looks like there are two. What do they call them on here? What do they call them on here? Regions, home region, main something, men in charge, something. MLs? What is an ML? Main.
what are you even talking about?
Looba-doober. I don't know. The people who are heading the region for NaNoWriMo. Because remember, we were going to talk about that, but then we got off on a tangent.
No, I still remember. Yeah.
It looks like there's one person who actually knows what they're doing, and one person who
Is the one
is
that made that
definitely the source of the bullshit. And if
Oh, I see.
they're
How would you
successful
write
in having fun in what they're doing, all the better for them. Good work on you, buddy. But I will let you. I'll just read this line here for you. I am currently on the 3rd volume of a Doctor Who fanfic series that I started in 2013.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but if I could, I would have stopped you right at the fanfic word.
Yeah. Oh, God. About me personally, I dearly love to move to England and have been trying to find a way to do so for about 7 years.
Oh God, fanfic, Doctor Who, want to move to England? Oh jeez, oh this is a. I'm sorry, man. That's just like too many symptoms.
How
Too
old
many
are
symptoms.
they?
Good question. Find out. Meanwhile, I have an advice for when everything is wrong, and
Hold on.
this is something
No.
that.
Oh, well, it does say library worker, not librarian, because if they were a librarian, they'd have to actually go to school and get a library science degree, and then they might grow up. God,
As if school helps.
I hope they... Well, I mean, if they do find this, like, they're a fanfic writer, what are they gonna do?
They will gonna sue you, man. This is
That's
America
libel.
works.
I didn't say their name or anything. Okay, and then the other person who actually seems to know what they're doing and is evidenced by the fact that I haven't heard shit from them, probably because they're actually writing. Blah 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 name is a writer, poet, and blogger. Holds bachelor degrees of arts in both literature and history, and completed a master's degree in literature with a novel focused on a World War I poet, Alan Seeger. She is a lifelong writer, is excited to combine her interest in history with her love of crochet, blah 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 blah. She's also planning a fantasy series. Like, she's actually doing shit, and she's been writing for a long time.
Yeah, that sounds more serious.
Like, and also she's 45. If she was 45 and she was the Doctor Who person, I'd be like,
I don't think it would sound like that. No, it wouldn't sound like that.
Yeah,
So
you can
she's
still be
45,
old
she's-
and love Doctor Who, but it wouldn't be that obnoxious.
It wouldn't be that Tumblr like, we're all like into this, huh?
Pimp
So,
my
anyway,
plot.
I wanna-
Pimp my
Pimp
plot.
my plot. Pimp my plot is where it's at.
Craft
man.
table where
Yeah.
you make your interior editor. I'm like, fuck off.
That's some shit. That's some like. You know, there are like a lot of art people who try to get you excited about art with anything that isn't art. Like they try to lure you in. They're like, "Oh, look at all these brushes! Aren't these brushes great? Look at all these like typewriters! Aren't these great?" Like, and you get like all into like the stuff that's around the thing that's it's supposed to be about. You know, rather than like about like actually like doing it. Like I don't know, man. It's so depressing. But what I wanted to say, you know what you should do, or what I at least like learned. What, I don't even want to say that. The one thing I discovered when approaching like when I have to, I won't do this like I won't do this just on my own. I don't go like online and just like talk to people, you know, or something.
Mm-hmm.
When I have to critique a person and I feel like I can't tell them anything, like everything is wrong, or something like that, or like I don't know where to start because everything is fucking terrible. I start by asking them what they're trying to do, and just like I want them, like it's like, you know, the thing when there's like this game that you do to annoy your parents, when you just ask why about every single
I guess another important question to ask them would be how long they've been doing art or writing or whatever.
I feel like it's easier to focus on them rather than like, and their thoughts about the piece rather than the piece itself. When it comes to like, when a person is just starting out, it's mostly about them. When a person has been doing this for a while, it's definitely about the piece only. See, that's the thing why I feel professionals or people who are trying to be professionals don't need compliments, because hey, it's pretty obvious that you're like in this for the long haul and you're not gonna quit because someone offended you or something, you know?
Yeah.
So you really do need critiques if you're in this for the critiques, and you just literally need advice on how to improve. So of course everything that's not said is obviously working then, you know, like if you like want critique, and by the way, and when I say this, I don't mean like critique and you just go on like a public forum and get critique from strangers. No, God, no. Like I'm talking about like critique from trusted sources, you know, like you're in like class, if it's like a person this opinion you value, if it's like a professional artist or something, that you know, or a teacher or whatever.
Every single person, though, no matter what we say, we're saying this because we've been there. Every single person will go eventually, some point in their life, to a public forum and look for a critique.
Yes.
Everyone does it.
At that point, it's like a different set of rules, and you just kind of think about it differently. But basically, if you're like a pro, see, that's the thing. We both have this thing when we don't think of ourselves as like aspiring artists trying to become real artists. You know, we are always like we're pros just in training or something at best. You know, or like pros that are not, like a cadet. Like we're not like we are pros, but not necessarily like making enough money or something. You know, and the attitude is what makes the difference, because you don't like, well, I'm just trying. You don't have any excuses. You don't have any like stuff, but it's also better because it helps you to do your shit. And that's why, because I always had this attitude, I never had the moment in critique where like someone like tells me some shit and what is it actually any good? Like, you know, like, because like I don't need reassurance that I'm okay. I need to know how to get better, because I never question it for a second, you know? That's why I feel like if you have like more professional students or just people who want critique, you can't tell them anything, and you need to like tell them like any positive stuff, because it's pretty obvious that they already have everything else positive.
Yeah.
You know, like, because the attitude is that they know what they want, they know who they are, they don't have any identity crisis. If you tell them that, I don't think this works, man. You know? Well, and that said, now that we know about NaNoWriMo,
I mean, I'll see how it goes, but it's... The thing is, the incentive for you to finish your word count is you get prizes, quote-unquote, when you finish your word count, when you actually meet your word count. NaNoWriMo.org. But the only prize that I would care about, which is a discount for Scrivener, I already have Scrivener, so...
Yeah, like... Well, like I said, like this is just for you, man.
Yeah.
I think you should just take over NaNoWriMo. Like, don't think about who is doing it, what they're doing, like who's gonna go where. I don't think that matters. I think you just don't even like think. Take NaNoWriMo and decipher it differently. You know, like think of it, or stop saying NaNoWriMo and give it another name. Like take over it. Like give it like a completely different attitude, the attitude you want, and then just kind of like look at it more like something made specifically for you rather than for someone else. Because clearly, if you like want a bunch of idiots excited to write without actually like writing seriously, then like that's what it is. If you want like a bunch of people, you know, like if you like Doctor Who and you just want another like excuse to go and hang out or something. Like you want like a fandom, oh god, or something. But if you like want a serious writing thing, and this is just an excuse, like take this as just like an excuse you've always wanted to try and push yourself further, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm excited for you to do it, because I know we both don't care about the prizes. Like, I don't care if you win, you don't care if you win, because there's nothing for you to win. And it's not even for critique, because, like, you know, like, but we know that the real challenge here is that this is a real challenge. Like, finishing stuff and keeping it up is, like, not just, you know, whatever. That's why I am excited for you to do it, not because some Doctor Who fans that are gonna like talk to you at some point or something like that. Because I want to see you like put your foot down and complete the challenge. You know?
Yeah.
And I
still need to finish Standing Stone too.
Well, are you?
But the problem is, I think that I've waited so long. Like, I know what I want to do, I just need to shit it out. But, like, I started writing Standing Stone, 2 years ago at least now? And not to toot my own horn, but I would say I have improved massively since then.
And would you say then that... Well, you could do two things. You can abandon it or rewrite it.
What I'll probably do is finish it, let it sit for a little bit longer, and then start rewriting in the edit, like more than I usually do.
Like if you want to finish it, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is important to me to finish it because I do like the story and I like where I have an idea of where it's going to go. Again, we'll see what happens, but
your stories these days are massively better. I remember reading Standing Stone and being like, well, it is kind of interesting, I guess. And now I'm just like, whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm on a ride in a Disneyland attraction park. And,
thanks,
and this is exciting. Yeah. You're welcome.
Man, all these...
Here, it's like, I feel like that a lot of the time when I have any big project, so I just don't do it.
Most of these prizes are like stupid. They're for like.
Well, I think it's just
huge...
like whatever.
Well, okay, there are a couple software things, which is it's all right, but honestly, all you really need is Word or OpenOffice, maybe Scrivener. Everything else, like, there's only so much you can really do with a word processor, you know? So there are a couple different word processors on here, including Scrivener, which I will say Scrivener is really great, and the one thing about Word is it's moved to an always online platform now, so unless you get the 2010 version, it's bullshit. And the other problem is it's expensive as shit unless you get a student or faculty or something, some sort of discount. But Scrivener is always between like $20 and $50, depending on what kind of discount you can apply to it and what kind of sale they're having. Like, they're massively cheaper. And then, of course, OpenOffice is free, and it's basically like an open source Microsoft Word. So really, if you can't afford Microsoft Word, just get OpenOffice and buy Scrivener, and you'll be set. And every other word processing software, like, really honestly, most of us, I would say, are not old enough to remember the days of WordPerfect, which is apparently still around. But, like, we don't have that attachment to WordPerfect anymore, so it's like we don't have whatever little quirks it had that would make us be like, oh, I miss WordPerfect. So they're basically all the same. So just find a word processor and use it. And then the other prizes on here, there's a lot of Vanity Press. And if you want to be a serious... It's where you pay a company to self-publish for you.
I mean, like, what is the price? What's the actual price?
Let's see.
Like, they
Best
will
way to
Vanity
self-publish
Press
audiobooks, and it's totally free. The chance to win a premium audiobook production and distribution deal for their novel. It's too vague. It's really, really vague. This sounds not so great. I mean, every vanity press and self-publishing website will tell you it'll be available through Amazon and Kindle and Nook and blah blah blah, and all these other websites. All that means is that they're able to put it in the catalog, and people, if they search for it, they'll find your thing. But there's no promotion. They don't have editors, which is another problem with Vanity Press. Vanity Press is where you pay someone else, or sometimes it'll be free and they'll have a shady contract. And they'll just publish what you have. But you haven't gone through the rigor of submitting short stories, most likely, if you're to the point of Vanity Press. It's nothing you can put on your profile if you try and find an agent, or if you're sending to an actual publisher. Like, it will not do you any good. There are people who have been successful with self-publishing through sites like that, but they've always been established authors.
Yeah, like you already have an audience to market.
You already have an audience, and you've already gone through the ringer and improved your writing. But
probably have made it.
But what happens is all these new people see, like, oh, I don't have to go through the billions of rejections or have to go through multiple rewrites and edits and talks with an editor and blah blah blah. I can just publish it. But like,
well, yeah, it's
there's
the
a
same
reason.
thing.
There's a reason they have editors, and they reject a lot of stuff because, quite frankly, like, there are an awful lot of writers, most of whom are either just starting out or just will never get very good. So the pool of writers to writers worth anyone's time, the ratio is pretty different, you know?
Yeah. All that said.
Yeah, okay, so hold on. One,
You
two.
might be the one special person who can do it.
Two.
And if you feel like you can, give it a try.
Okay, there's one more useful thing on here if they're an actually established company. It's where it's $50 off sending your manuscript into something called Readsy, which is a site full of editors and designers who will help you edit your book into a publishable manuscript for you to send out. I will say, if you're going to spend money on hiring a professional editor to look at your manuscript, you need to first do yourself and that editor a favor by putting in some work of your own a couple times first. If you're going to be paying them money, you do not want to have them just fixing grammatical errors, verb tense issues, stuff like that. Like, take the time to actually put effort into your work.
Yeah, go as far as possible on your own first.
Because save $50, that means they're going to be pricey. Because they're only giving you $50 off for only writing 50,000 words. Nothing else. Like, you have no other credentials. You just wrote a bunch of shit. Like, and they're going to give you $50 off. Like, that means they're fucking pricey. Which hopefully also means that the editors they have are really good. But, like, if you're going to be spending that much, you don't want to waste your time having them, and their time, having them fix really, really basic shit. Look up manuscript format. Do as much legwork on your own as you can before you use a service like that if you're going to use it. Yeah, see, fucking $500, $650, like.
Well, I guess it's a start. $50. If you're a college student, that's $50.
Yeah.
See, I think the real prize of this NaNoWriMo thing is the fact that you'll have a thing done.
Yeah.
And
I mean, a lot of people don't get that far.
Yeah. If it will actually help somebody, like, finish it, like, have an incentive, then
Yeah, I
Damn,
will
I
say
guess that's
it
something.
can be a really great stepping stone. But everyone who actually does get serious, I think, will reach a point where they just write. Like, I really honestly don't need NaNoWriMo. I said I would do it because you were wondering if you should do Inktober. We were helping each other.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I want to do Inktober because it's a lot of commitment. And I don't want if I want commitment, and then it was like, fuck it, let's do it. And he was like, yeah, to support you, I'll do commitment on my own.
Holy shit.
That's great. That's a great feeling.
No, I looked up WordPerfect because it does still exist. And the new box is pretty sleek now and everything. I should tell my mom WordPerfect still exists because she loved that thing. But anyway, yeah, just get Scrivener and OpenOffice, and then maybe expand to WordPerfect and
or
Word
don't.
Although Word 2010 by now should be pretty cheap, I would hope. But either way, like the standard edition is $330 Canadian. But
for WordPerfect?
Yeah.
I see Office X8 WordPerfect for $250.
Yeah,
Download. Canadian
is you need to add 30% from the American price, and then you have Canadian dollars. You can get the home and student edition, but I will say if you want a full word processor with everything that you might need, you're gonna want the full version. But yeah. Anyway, I have Microsoft Word and Scrivener. I'm set. I really don't want to expand, and I have 3 typewriters because I have a problem.
Hipster. Yeah, you do have a problem, but that's okay.
I want another one too. Have I shown you the one I really want?
Oh god,
guys, you'll see the one I really want, and then you'll be like, okay, Ben, I'll allow you this one.
You see, guys, we're like talking about shit. You know, like how you gotta really write and be a real writer, and all that shit paraphernalia around it is all bullshit, and it's not gonna actually help you get anywhere. And then this fucking guy has like 3 typewriters. I know, right?
Yeah. 3.
Like,
hopefully, I'll get 4 eventually.
Oh my god.
Problem is, the one I really want is pretty old.
Really want. So tell me what you want.
What you really want.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to you in the Hangout chat.
All right.
It's a 1930s Royal Portable in green.
What a hipster. What a hipster.
Okay, lemon kind of now.
It's guys, you're thinking like imagine a typewriter. That's what it looks like. It's that. Yeah. It's like a deep royal green colored fancy old school typewriter, exactly how you imagine it, with the keys popping out and everything, like, and the when you like push
it's beautiful.
it. Well, like we said, you have a problem, so I guess that's what we expect.
And I also got over the summer. I got the third one. I got was a Royal Aristocrat. That one is also a very pretty little one. That one's from 1940.
Cool. Fancy.
Yeah. And the ribbon it came with is blue, which was really weird for me because I've never seen a blue typewriter ribbon before.
Wow, guys. Blue ribbon.
Oh, man, shut up. You just don't get it. It's not a phase.
It's not a phase, Mom, yeah. Alright. How long have we been gone?
How long have we been talking?
Yes.
An hour and 44 minutes.
Perfect. Time to finish this bitch up. Alright, on that note, with me going through October and still kind of like, I got back on track. I'm like so like, on time right now. So it's gonna be fine. And I will do it. I said I'll do it. I will finish it. So I will have 31 sketches with pencils and ink, and I learned a lot from it, which is really what I think is the most important thing about this.
There's something very
Next time
important,
I won't
Anton.
do it.
We have to keep talking for a little bit for one very important reason.
Yes.
Lemminkainen is playing right now.
How
And it's still
long
on the
till
first
it's
movement.
Are you
Or the first
real?
song. It's... What the fuck? Why doesn't Windows Media Player have a timestamp anymore?
Windows Media Player, guys.
Yeah,
He
man.
is a hipster.
Not a hipster. I'm cool.
I was reading about, like, I saw, like, an article on Reddit that's like, what do you miss from the old days? And someone talked about Winamp, and I thought about you.
It's got 10 minutes left.
God. Well, we'll easily... Like, if you just try to end the stream right now, it'll probably be 10 minutes.
Hey, 5.
That's fine. Now, the question is, what should I do now? What should I do now?
I don't know.
After this? Do you
After
guys
this?
think I should go and work?
Yes.
Yeah.
But you should work
What?
while we talk and I play Deus Ex.
That's cool. That's cool. How far are you in Deus Ex?
Well,
Tell
remember,
us.
I did the cultist lady bomb thing last night. So, reportedly,
So-
I'm by the end.
Well, you're in the last third of the game. He is about to go on a mission to Switzerland, if I recall correctly. And he's gonna find out some shit. It's gonna be fun. Real fun. By the way, full disclosure, during this process I finished the today's Inktober and even uploaded it.
Wow.
I know, I'm being productive.
Let's see. Did we
Guys,
ever get...
do you ever feel like you need to be more productive and you hate yourself for it? Yes, of course you do. Now that means you're just a real artist. We're so full of shit.
This is... Well, you'll be glad to know.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever got one watcher.
Nice.
That's fine.
That's good.
We're just some dudes. Oh, this is not episode 4. This is episode 5. Oh my.
That's why. That's why I said it in the first place.
Hey,
It's like according to this.
I just changed it now.
Well,
There we go.
I suffer from... I will tell you this. I've been streaming on Twitch, and you gotta change the streaming thing in the Twitch stream settings on Twitch, not from like the streamer thing.
Oh, that's fine.
And that's impossible to remember. Like, I think it's actually impossible to remember in advance before you start streaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like during or after the fact you will remember like, oh, I'm not streaming sketches, I gotta be streaming this, and you change the stream name or something halfway through, you know. But that's fine. That's fine. That's That's
We're on the cool song from Lemminkainen.
That's great.
You know the one. You
Yeah.
know the one.
By the way, what is Lemminkainen?
It's an awesome piece I wrote based off of a section in the Kalevala, which is Finland's national epic poem. And
About.
the cool one... Oh, it's by me. I wrote it.
No, I said about.
Cool stuff.
Nice.
And
And
the
the cool
cool song is the one that has the ostinato and the piano that's like...
I gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing's cool. I did a fucking great job on that. Not to
Wow.
not to stroke my ego, but you know, sometimes you just gotta admit it. Like sometimes you just gotta be like, hey, you know what? I'm pretty great. No, what I'm saying.
Oh my god. You know what I'm saying? I'm really great, huh? Great, ladies.
I don't get no respect.
Come here and I'll slap you and grab you by the pussy.
Oh!
Yep.
Now I have to put "We get political" in the title or the description.
Oh, we get political. Well, what else is there to say? Like that's just where it ends and where it begins, man. Such a nasty woman.
We're on the ending song now. You know, the one with the cool string piano.
Yes.
Wah, wah.
I think. I do agree that that piece ended up being pretty cool, but man, you just gotta admit to yourself. Sometimes you gotta admit to yourself that you're the shit.
No, I'm saying. you gotta add the. No, I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Oh my god. It's bad.
Speaking of being the shit, we have to record our theme song.
Oh,
and then
I
have it as an intro.
Well, for this special occasion, before we go off, you gotta perform it live for the audience.
Well, we gotta perform it together, which will be hilarious because there will be lag time between our two voices syncing up.
That's why I only wanted you to do it.
Well, too bad.
No, the first one, do it just so we can actually hear what it is.
Okay.
Then
well, this is gonna sound great because the Lemminkeinen's still playing underneath, but
no, do it. Yeah, wait till the end. It's gonna be the last thing we do, and then we just end it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
I hope you have.
Here's the question:
open.
How are we gonna hire a men's choir to perform this?
Well, this is just the sketch. This is just the general idea. This is the outline.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is where we going with it. Oh man, it would be cool if we could like write that shit out and make it like all serious. I'm thinking like Red Alert, like stereotypical Russian, like like march dun 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 dun, that kind of shit, like, and make it all like men choir, like go like nerd nerd nerd. Yeah, that would be great.
What the fuck is this? I just looked at another one of the prizes and it looks like maybe bullshit?
Torn off
What
female
the
leg.
fuck is this? Oh. Okay, it's something that looks like it could be fun, but you had better not have the expectation of doing serious work on it.
What?
From what I can gather, it's called For the Words, and it's like an online game, but the gameplay component is writing.
Oh, God, that just sounds like a bad time.
The art's pretty alright. Hold on. Writing projects. Select an icon and background code. Okay, whatever. Publish and read. Publish your finished projects and read other projects published by the community. Discover fellow authors who are using the platform to write and publish their own work. Read published works, blah, blah, blah. Monsters. Writing challenges that come in all shapes and levels. Okay, here's the issue I have with it. Exposure is nice, and this might be alright for you if you're just starting out. But if you are going to publish and not get any money from it, at least try and find an entry-level literary magazine that you can use in your portfolio as a publishing credential. If you write, I've published my stuff on this fucking writing game, like, no one's gonna... like, you can't put that shit on a... You can't put that on a portfolio.
Well, maybe that doesn't matter, Ben. Maybe we're just full of shit. Maybe we just think
maybe
that...
Maybe you're not really in it for the art, man. It's not about the money, man.
Yeah, like, see? Yeah, now you're getting it. Money, portfolio, man, you just, like, one of those people,
Mhm.
fucking tools, the sheeple that think it's about the money. Art is in your heart. I don't know what I am gonna do. I'm gonna fucking kill myself.
All right, Lemminkainen is over. So,
Here we go.
all right, the fun surprise for you is I wrote this in another language.
Ah!
All right, here we go. Klarnet, internet, net, paruski, da, internet.
Beautiful. All right, stream's over. We're done.
Yep,
This is
that
the
was
end.
it. That was the last episode.
Perfect. The world is done. Human civilization complete. All right.
Have
Okay,
a good
man.
night, everyone. For when
Good
people
night.
eventually listen to this.
Go away.
Hope things are going well for you. We're now, yeah.
Eat a cookie.
Now that we're talking, if you have any craft you're trying to work on, what the hell are you doing listening to us? You need to go work
Exactly!
on that
Go
shit.
away!
Go away.
Yeah, go away.